It's 7:04 a.m. on the 12th of October 2025 in the Philippine Sea, 400 kilometers east of Luzon at 17.2 degrees north, 127.6 degrees east. Alarms rip through the carrier USS Ronald Reagan. On the screens, a cold trace slides under the waves, too near, too quiet. Unknown contact, bearing 085, range 3 miles. CIC snaps awake. Sailors sprint to battle stations. The deck shudders as turbines spool. An E-2D spins up. An MH-60R crews for launch. Radios crackle. Hold fire, hold lock. Outside, the ocean boils in patches as the task group tightens its ring. Cruisers and destroyers shifting to shield the carrier. Then the surface parts. A dark hull breaks into daylight Chinese Yuan class. Nose wet, mast bare, cameras roll, sonar tapes. Every second matters because this is the nightmare nobody talks about but everyone trains for. A hostile sub surfacing inside the bubble. One wrong call means collisions, flares, and headlines, maybe worse. The next minute decides whether this stays a scare or becomes a crisis. The Philippine Sea isn't just blue water, it's a lifeline for fuel, food, and microchips linking continents. Hour by hour, tankers and freighters cross this corridor, feeding cities from Los Angeles to Tokyo. At its center sails the USS Ronald Reagan, flanked by Antietam, Shoup, and Mustin. Their mission: keep the lanes open, no surprises. For weeks, the air near Luzon has felt tight. Chinese patrol planes hovered on radar's edge, and fishing boats loitered with too many antennas. Then came a shadow below a Yuan-class submarine, silent on AIP. It didn't drift by chance. It came to test how close it could get before the US reacted, and how far discipline could hold when danger surfaced. Inside the Reagan's Combat Information Center, voices stay low but tense. No aggressive moves. Record everything. Every ping, every propeller turn, every mast flick is priceless data. Analysts in Yokosuka would call this a jackpot. Enemy signatures captured without firing a shot. Logged clean. That data becomes leveraged training files, threat profiles, and sharper tactics for the next encounter. But the line is razor thin. A sonar lock could look like a threat. One wrong radio call, and the Pacific becomes a courtroom where both sides argue with missiles. Insurance spikes. Allies wonder if the sea is still safe. Credibility, once lost, takes years to rebuild. That's why the group leans on calm precision. Spy 1D watches, SLQ-32 listens, and SQR-19 drags for whispers. Overhead, an E-2D and MH-60R keep the sub in sight without crossing the line. On deck, rotors spin and destroyers tighten the ring. The message is steady and clear. We see you, we're ready, and we won't be the first to blink. This is defense through patience, turning tension into intelligence. Now it's your turn. Who handled the pressure better? Press 1 if you trust US discipline, or 9 if you think China's sub had the edge this time. 7:04 a.m. turns into 7:05. On board the USS Shoup, sonar screens pulse in blue and green. Contact confirmed, depth 120 meters, speed 8 knots, course 090. The report cuts through the control room. The MH-60R Seahawk call sign Night 614 launches from Reagan's deck, dipping low over the waves. Its sonar buoy splashes down and hums to life. Seconds later, the pattern comes back crystal clear. Chinese Yuan class, no doubt. Target identified. No hostile actions. Hold posture. Commander Blake keeps his tone calm. Around him, the crew breathes in sync, every console alive with light. The SQR-19 tows behind, feeding constant pings through the tactical net. The sub is close 3 nautical miles, port side of the carrier. Through the periscope feed from a nearby drone, the black shape of the Yuan glides upward, breaking the surface like a whale breaching. A shimmer of seawater slides off its hull. The red star of the People's Liberation Army Navy catches sunlight. Every American ship in the formation shifts slightly, tightening the ring around the carrier. Guns stay silent, but every finger hovers near a trigger guard. On Reagan's flight deck, sailor freeze mid-motion. One wrong signal, and this morning, becomes history's next incident. The E-2D Hawkeye circles high, keeping its radar trained on the submarine's mast. The SLQ-32 suite listens every spike in frequency, every blip in the electromagnetic noise. For intelligence officers, this is a gift wrapped in risk. A full acoustic and electronic fingerprint of a modern Chinese submarine delivered to them for free. A voice breaks over the radio. Plan submarine. This is the United States Navy vessel Ronald Reagan. You are operating within a carrier defense perimeter. Maintain position and prepare to be escorted clear. The message is firm, precise, and most importantly, recorded. The Yuan doesn't answer. It drifts, engines off, letting the current decide its fate. Cameras zoom in. The silhouette hangs steady on the waves. 10,000 tons of American steel watch one foreign hull, both sides holding their breath. To the untrained eye, nothing happens. But inside every ship, systems are locked, missiles are primed, and 100 people are doing the hardest thing in war, nothing. The ocean feels different now, heavier, charged. Every ship in the strike group moves just a little slower, careful not to provoke. The Chinese submarine floats on the surface, motionless. Its black hull glistening under the Sunday cameras zoom in from the USS Mustin. Radar crews whisper updates. For the Americans, the mission has changed. Survive the tension without firing a shot. At 7:10 a.m., the Yuan's mast rises again. Its periscope turns slow, deliberate, scanning the carrier's deck. For a moment, it points directly at the Ronald Reagan's island tower. That's a visual lock, a sailor mutters. Hands tighten on controls. The Spy 1D radar hums, tracking every movement. The SLQ-32 picks up a faint pulse radio chatter in Mandarin, bouncing through the static. Commander Blake gives a short order. Shift formation. Mustin, move 10 degrees east. Antietam, take overwatch. Keep her boxed. Engines roar back to life. The ships slide into a new ring, their wakes crossing white lines on the sea. The MH-60R circles above, sonar deployed, blades thumping hard against the wind. The crew can almost feel the distance closing 3 miles, then 2.5. Then a new signal flashes. The Yuan's engines spark. It's diving again. Submerging, bearing 083, depth increasing fast. Sonar techs call out numbers as the sub vanishes beneath the waves. The Americans track it, ping after ping, until the signal fades. It's gone, but nobody relaxes. The ocean is quiet again. Too quiet. Hold positions, Blake says. We'll wait her out. He knows the sub could still be down there, listening, learning, testing how much the US will reveal. Above, the Hawkeye keeps watch, scanning for anything that breaks the surface. The tension shifts from sight to sound. Every creak of steel, every wave slap feels louder. Minutes drag by. Coffee cups sit untouched. The crew's discipline becomes the only weapon that matters. This isn't a battle of firepower, it's one of nerves. And both sides know the first mistake decides who wins. If you were here, would you hold your fire or push first to break the silence? Press 1 if you trust US.com under pressure, or 9 if you think China's sub held the stronger hand beneath the waves. At 7:17 a.m., radar screens fall quiet. For a moment, the ocean seems calm, too calm. Then a sharp tone cuts through. New contact, bearing 080, range 2 miles, shallow and fast. It's not the same sub. This one moves like a dart, slicing through the thermocline. The MH-60R Seahawk dips its sonar again and catches a faint metallic echo smaller than a submarine. Analysts recognize it instantly. An unmanned underwater vehicle likely controlled by the Yuan. So the sub wasn't retreating, it was bait. Multiple contacts confirmed, the sonar tech reports. Small blips bloom across the display, weaving erratic paths. USS Mustin shifts course, and Antietam widens the ring. Deploy acoustic decoys, Blake orders. Canisters splash down, spinning streams of false echoes to confuse the swarm. For minutes, the fight is silent. No missiles, no explosions, just sensors and nerves. The SQR-19 sonar feeds steady pulses. The operators listen to the faint buzzing of underwater drones circling the carrier. They aren't armed, but they're recording everything: propeller noise, hull vibration, every whisper of steel. A live intelligence grab unfolding in real time. Then one drone breaks away, surging toward the Ronald Reagan's port side. Inbound object 50 meters, alarms blare. The MH-60R dives low, skimming waves. A single flare fires a warning only. The drone halts, spins, and sinks from sight. Silence returns, heavier than before. The crew understands now. The Yuan surfacing wasn't a mistake. It was a calculated test, using drones to see exactly how far America would go before breaking the calm. 7:25 a.m. The ocean holds its breath. The U.S. formation tightens, hulls cutting through low waves, radar sweeping in arcs. Somewhere below, the Yuan waits silent, patient. Every system on the USS Shoal hums at combat power, but the rule stands: no fire unless fired upon. New contact bearing 086, depth 150, closing fast. The sonar team calls out. The Yuan is back, fully submerged, moving straight for the carrier group. Commander Blake steadies his voice. Mark and track. Do not engage. Above, the MH-60R Seahawk drops another sonar buoy. Echoes bounce off the deep. Then it happens. The periscope breaks the surface, carving a silver line. For an instant, it looks like an attack run. All ships, defensive posture, Blake commands. Muston swings broadside. Antietam powers its guns. On USS Ronald Reagan, alarms wail as sailors brace. But the Yuan doesn't strike. Instead, it turns sharply starboard, dives and slides beneath the formation. Crossing under, depth 200 meters. Sonar screams as the sub passes under the carrier's keel. Every ship holds steady, no weapons, no panic, just controlled precision. On the Reagan's bridge, tension melts into silence. No shots, no collision, just a ghost in the deep. Data flows to Yokosuka, where analysts will dissect every ping and frequency spike. The meaning is clear. The Yuan just cut through America's shield, not to attack, but to show it could, and to record how the US would react. For the Navy, it's proof that victory isn't always about firepower. Sometimes, discipline beats aggression. For Beijing, it's evidence their submarines can slip close enough to test the limits of American nerve. The sea turns calm again, but it's the calm after a warning. The next test won't be this quiet. On the network, the SPY-1D tapes roll. SLQ-32 dump spectrum captures, and the SQR-19 trail yields the sub's cavitation voice. The E-2D Hawkeye logs mast timings. The Seahawk crew notes dive rates and turns circles. Tiny numbers, hard-earned under pressure, become the playbook for the next time a black hole threads the ring. If you were on that bridge, would you call it restraint or weakness? Press 1 if you believe the US won by control, or 9 if you think China just proved a point beneath the waves. By 7:40 a.m., the sea has swallowed the last trace of the Yuan. The US formation drifts back to patrol speed, engines low and steady. To the untrained eye, it's over. But inside every ship, encrypted files filled with sonar, radar, and radio data that will feed the Navy's growing intelligence vault. The sailors know they just lived through a textbook encounter, one that ended not with fire, but with silence. Aboard the USS Ronald Reagan, Commander Blake begins his report. No shots fired, no damage, objective achieved. The words seem simple, but everyone who stood watch knows the weight behind them. Restraint takes courage. It's easier to pull a trigger than to trust your training when a foreign submarine glides beneath your ship. In Yokosuka, Japan, analysts replay every second. SPY-1D radar returns, SQR-19 sonar traces, and even faint SLQ-32 spikes become new pages in the Navy's playbook. Every sound logged, every hesitation timed. For the US, this wasn't just a standoff. It was a harvest of intelligence, a quiet victory that will echo through future patrols. But the story doesn't end here. In Beijing, the Yuan's officers will be praised for daring to approach an American carrier and live to tell it. They'll study how long the US took to react, how tight the formation closed, and what frequencies tracked them. To them, this too was success, a chance to test American resolve without crossing the line. Both sides walk away claiming victory. One proved it could reach out, the other proved it could stay calm. The Pacific remains quiet, but that calm hums with tension, the pause before the next test. Out here, winning isn't about who fires first, it's about who learns more before the next encounter. And when another shadow rises beneath the waves, the question will return: who's really in control? If you were watching from that deck, whose side would you bet on next time? Press 1 if you stand with US discipline, or 9 if you think China's nerve will break the silence first.